Ready. Good evening, everyone. We call this meeting of the Fall Mountain Regional School District Budget Committee to order. And we start off with a motion for the minutes from, I don't have my email pulled up.
Can we do a pledge?
We have not traditionally done a pledge of allegiance.
I thought we did, I don't, okay. Move on.
Welcome back.
We have two sets of minutes to approve tonight.
Yes.
Yeah,
Looking for the dates.
3/27/2024. Minutes, very short minutes. I'll take a motion.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved. I'm taking notes, so this is gonna be a little bit slow. And do you have that other date?
Okay.
Gabe, I'll take notes. You run the meeting, okay?
Thank you, Jamie.
It was 2/28.
Thank you. Motion for the minutes from 2/28/2024.
So moved.
Amanda,
Second.
seconded by Michael. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Until someone slaps my wrist and makes us do a roll call vote because you're on Zoom, I'm not gonna bother.
It's
Don't worry,
fine.
I thought about it.
Okay, moving on, election of officers. There are Jamie,
I would nominate Gabe St. Pierre for chair.
Second.
seconded by Steve Delesio. Any discussion?
Any other nominations? I'd like to nominate Amanda. How does that work?
It doesn't work because it needs to be an at-large position.
Anybody here got the rules? I'd like to see them.
You'll have to do some research because I don't have the rules right here at hand.
It has to be, by RSA, I believe it has to be a at-large position. Look, I think it's RSA 191 something.
Hold on, I can look it up. 1 second, let me just get out of my Zoom thing.
You would think we had copies of that. I must have. I left my file at home.
We do have copies of that. In fact, Leroy gave them to us when we first got seated.
Yeah.
Okay,
They should
Tell me
be
what
in
the- Steve, what's the RSA? I'm sorry.
I think it's 191 something.
Okay.
And it should. Yeah.
to your point, Chris, had I been a proper chair, I would have this information. So, point noted.
I think it's something we can include in the, when we talk about like the yearly orientation or
The
whatever.
binder that we
Yeah,
get.
that we're talking about, so that every year you get a copy of it.
What Amanda is referencing is a subcommittee that we're looking to form for things just like this, Chris, and I think you could be very valuable with.
Jamie, I understand that there's more than one citation and there's many RSAs. I am privy to the RSA that says at one time that it's at large if you're in a district such as Fall Mountains, but I also understand I couldn't find it months ago. So
Yeah.
But there are more than one area to look. So,
That could be very true.
And that's why I bring up
Yeah.
a gray area situation until we get,
If you give me 1 second, I'll tell you, because I have every email that was ever sent to me, and so I would have Leroy's email.
Take more than a second.
No, not really.
It's gotta be school budget.
It is Leroy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, Watson, got it. Got it. Budget
Not
support.
Leroy, it's Leroy.
Leroy.
Leroy, sorry. Okay, cooperative. Okay. Okay, and 1 second, here we go. It's 195:12.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I just found too. We sent things
Yeah.
out.
Budget committee, blah, blah, blah. Right, members shall serve till next meeting. Separate chairperson. After appointment or election, the budget committee shall promptly organize and choose a chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary. The secretary shall keep records of the proceedings of the budget committee, which shall be public records open to the public inspection. Such cooperative school budget committee shall have the powers and duties of municipal budget committee under the provisions of RSA 32, insofar as the budget for the cooperative school district is concerned. Such committee shall seasonably provide the cooperative school board a sufficient number of copies. All right, hold on, there's more. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, it's not in that section. It doesn't say it in that section. It just says that section of that one only says after appointment or election, the budget committee shall promptly organize and choose a chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary. That's all that the 195:12A says, but there were 4 attachments. So 1 second. Okay. All right, this is budget committee adoption. Any town with a town meeting form, cooperative school district, village district or district created, high school district or village adopts its budget. Okay. Majority vote, those present and voting by ballot. La, la, la. May rescind. Okay. Budget committee membership. The budget committee shall consist of 3 to 12 members at large who may be either elected or appointed by the moderator as the town or district adopting the provision of this subdivision shall by vote determine who shall serve staggered terms of 3 years. 1 member of the governing body of the municipality, and if the municipality is a town, 1 member of the school board of each school district wholly within the town. Let's see, each member, alternate member. I'm looking for the cooperative piece.
If there's nothing that states it needs to be an at-large position,
Yep,
we can open it up to anyone. I'm
Well,
not gonna
it-
fight.
right, it's number 6. It does say 1 of the members at large shall be elected by the budget committee as chair. The committee may elect other officers as it sees fit. A member at large shall cease to hold office immediately upon missing 4 consecutive scheduled or announced meetings of which that member received reasonable notice without being excused.
Clear,
If
it's an at-large member.
yeah,
Connell, is that,
it's clear as mud, but yeah, I mean, I would concede that it sounds like it's, an at-large member, which
gives two options.
which handicaps our district, but gives us two options, right? Because no one else can run for it effectively unless you run as an at-large member.
Well,
So,
I don't think it's a political position.
Right.
It's,
no, I understand, I think the concept behind why they would do that, because as an at-large member, you're not beholden to the town title of which you were elected. I get it, but you're still Charlestown, so, I get it, but the same, we only can, there's only two of those positions available, so.
Who is the other at-large?
Jerry,
Okay, well, and he's missed 2 meetings already, so. So I don't know, I don't think he would want to be the chair right away. And then the other thing, just to play devil's advocate, would be whether Amanda would even want to contemplate doing it.
and I don't think that's even relevant because it says here that
Okay,
one of the members at large shall be elected by the budget committee as chair.
okey-doke.
So,
That was
we
my
are.
reading of that particular statute.
I'll
I just
send
had,
you, I'll
other people-
resend you Leroy's email, Chris, so you have it all.
just Jamie, I'm just gonna correct for the record, it's Leroy.
Yes.
Because he does get annoyed with that
I'm
difference.
sorry.
I mean, I ask you to remember.
No,
terribly
for me
sorry.
too.
Apologies to Leroy, Leroy, sorry.
Big giant R, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
but to your point, Jimmy, I am willing to help out in any capacity that,
right.
well, we're
Again.
gonna vote you as vice chair.
okay, sounds good.
You're not getting off that easy.
Exactly. I mean, and that is a, that's an
Put
easy.
the motion on the table. isn't there?
All right, so I'm gonna resend that out to all of you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for finding that, Jamie.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move forward with the election of officers. There's a nomination put forward. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Stay.
Those abstained? Connell Spalding abstains.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot I was doing notes. I'm sending emails. I'm sorry. And who seconded the motion? Just remind me.
Steve.
Okay,
Steve DeLassio.
yeah. Got it. And everybody, yes, except for one abstention. Okay, got it. Okay,
And we'll now accept the nomination for vice chair.
Amanda,
Second.
Second.
Steve got the second. Connell
okay.
gets the nomination. Steve gets the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thankfully.
I'll abstain from voting for myself.
Okay,
Those, excuse me, those opposed and those abstained. Amanda abstains.
Yeah.
As I did abstain from my vote, to be
oh,
clear.
okay. Got it. I didn't realize that. Thank you. Well, if you vote me in, I'm gonna not abstain from voting for myself. How's that? You don't have to.
We'll take a nomination for secretary. I've tried this. I did the last set of notes. It can be done, but it's not smooth.
No, it's not good. I nominate Jamie.
Great.
And the second,
Second.
seconded by Steve DeLassio.
There's no,
Jamie, would you accept the nomination? They can be bare bones minutes.
Yeah, so you're gonna have, yes, I will. If,
We have,
because if we're being
have-
taped, all I'm gonna record are motions and results. Unless it's
Awesome.
something that you asked me to put in.
That's correct.
perfect. Thank you.
and that's not gonna be an issue with
Right.
you being on the board too, right? Like that's not
I
like,
don't think so. We'll
It was-
double check. We can double check, but I don't think so.
I don't think it's an issue. I just wanna make sure that I
Yeah,
don't have a
but
problem
she
with
was
it.
secretary and on the board, not this past term, but the one before.
I just wanna make sure that it's, that's legal, that she can do it that way, because that, an abridged version would be best.
That's
Yes.
what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, then fantastic, if that's the
Let's do it.
rule, yes, perfect.
Okay,
I don't like them. but
all
yes.
those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay, thank you all kindly. Moving forward, review action plans related to SWAT. Amanda, can you lead us in discussion, please?
Yeah. So last time we met that I was here, we was February, and we had Jamie Swat, we were on the board, right? Jamie was,
Do you want me to
Writing
put it
everything-
up? I can, if he lets me share, I can share it on that big screen.
yes, that'd be fabulous.
Okay.
You should have sharing rights.
Okay, great. Let me grab it. Hold on.
Let's put in technology.
Can you see it? Okay.
We can see your list. It looks like it's thinking.
Oh, okay. Hold on. It always does that to me. Hold on one second. There we go. I'm not that adept at Zoom. Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm
So we have this, yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
There we go. Okay.
All right, we have the SWOT, and then I also emailed this out again to everybody, and Jamie, actually, she sent it out to us, right, Jamie? You had this, but you also had the calendar.
Yes,
of,
which I can also pop up, and I resent the calendar this afternoon.
Yeah, so we had talked kind of at length about all of these things, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And then I just kind of think it's important for us to kind of build off of that meeting and kind of put some action plans into place. So some of the things that I remember from the meeting were the calendar, that we wanted to make sure that we had our calendar set for this year, and the orientation, we can call it whatever we want to call it. It doesn't have to be orientation, but kind of the introduction to the budget committee. What are things that we all need to know? What are things we have to be reminded of every year? Kind of really talking about that process and, procedure, so that we can make sure that we all are being refreshed with our roles and responsibilities every year. I know that there was more that we talked about, but I kind of wanted to open that back up to everybody, or I think it's important that we open that back up to everybody so that we can kind of solidify what it is, what are our actions, and then who wants to do that? Because I don't think we need to, personally, I don't think we need to take the time of this meeting to talk about what our orientation binder needs to look like. I feel like a couple of us, not a quorum, because I don't want to break any rules, but a couple of us can get together outside of the meeting and say, hey, look, this is what we think is important, and then bring it back so that this meeting that we have every month, we are actually reviewing numbers and looking at what the budget actually is, and not discussing these type of things that, yes, we might have to touch on them, but we shouldn't be spending entire meetings devoted to them, in my humble opinion. So, what does everybody else think?
Sounds fine to me.
Yeah,
I think that's a great idea, and I think if we wanted to, I'm happy to do it because I can host it through Hanover if it's a difficult thing for SAU60. Put together maybe a little shared folder where everybody could maybe go through their old folder and say, I think this is important, and just tell us, jot down what you think it may be called if it's not named. And then, we could maybe two of us go through that and see, so that we don't miss anything that somebody might think is important.
sure, absolutely. So then from, I think the biggest one for us is kind of discussing I guess the most time sensitive is the calendar, right? We want the calendar out, we want the orientation is, yes, it's important, but for the dates and wanting to make sure that we keep ourselves on task. We want to get that calendar out. I know we talked a lot about it in February, and we talked about, you know, what happens if Christmas falls on a Wednesday and all of that. So we could,
I'm gonna bring the calendar up just so that, Jennifer can see it, okay? Give me 1 second and I'll bring that up.
This is the calendar that we have all of the strategic dates from the
Right.
budgeting process as well, because that's what we need to work from.
right, and that's what Jamie sent out again this afternoon.
Just let me
Yeah.
know there.
And it can
Right there.
include those twice monthly dates when we know it's gonna be crunch time before. After the budget comes out, when one meeting a month isn't going to suffice, we can know to schedule in 2 meetings when everybody has it available.
So this is what Jamie sent out this afternoon. She sent it out before, but she also sent it out again this afternoon, up on the screen right now. What we can do is we can add to this list, the list that I had put in the email about, what days are we going to, so, you know, June 26th or whatever the last Wednesday is in the month of June. We can add it right here to the calendar of events. And then, we can all have that and say, yep, this is where we are. So we know that we're meeting on, May 29th or whatever it is. And then to your point, Gabe, we can have those. So, because I think in our notes from February, it also says when we know we're going to have to meet twice a month. So, we can put that together. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, you're looking
So-
at me funny.
So why don't I do this? Why, because I have this in a Word doc. So why don't I grab
Yeah.
the Word doc and to your point, not tonight maybe, or we can do it tonight, whatever. Grab the Word doc and where it says calendar in here, I think you can see my cursor.
Yep,
Yeah, put in our meeting dates right above the different months that we know to be true. And then maybe just make a section for us to use this to refer back to, with maybe just like when you get to November or October or November, add a blank line for a second meeting where we can write in a date, you know.
Yep.
And then we can
Okay.
send that over.
a question. Do we want to send this to a committee? This calendar to be brought forward at our next meeting?
we can, I don't know what, I mean, like Jamie's saying, a couple of us can get together, work on it or whatever. I mean, I don't know if,
I think the
Yeah.
calendar we can have ready for next meeting, tweak it,
Okay.
and then,
Who would like to work on this committee?
I'm okay with that. I'm
Michael,
doing the calendar?
doing the calendar?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Michael on the calendar committee?
Yep, and Jamie, you and I can talk on the phone whenever,
Jamie,
Sure.
are you up for that?
I think
or
so,
Zoom.
sure.
You got enough on your plate yet?
What's that?
You got enough on your plate yet?
No, I mean, this isn't gonna take us long.
No, it should take an hour or two.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. So as long as Michael will work a Saturday or Sunday, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He's retired.
I can do weekdays too, but.
My weekdays are
Okay.
full. But that's
My
okay.
evenings are usually full, so, yeah, I could do a Saturday or a Sunday.
Okay.
so. Then talking about kind of the orientation stuff, obviously, I was the one that kind of brought that up, I think, in February. I'm happy to work on that. We can, whether we email each other or maybe we set up that drive or whatever, so that people I'm happy to work with someone, a group of someone's, whoever, to say, hey, this is what I think is important for that kind of orientation.
Can that orientation, well, or maybe there needs to be another committee, but I think there is one. One thing piece that I think is very important, as well as that, is there has to be a general guideline, 1-page bullet points of this committee set for the next generation. When Steve leaves, I leave, everybody's leaving, the roles and responsibilities. Anybody can augment it. It's just general guidelines, but processes, how we communicate, how anybody on this committee communicates to the superintendent, all of that stuff should be vetted out. I think last year opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I think this board amongst everybody needs to be transparent. That's all, that's really how I feel about it. We have to be very transparent, otherwise it undermines any of our credibility. So.
I think personally that we can kind of loop some of that into what we're talking about, because it's like your introduction to the budget committee. Like, what is the budget committee? What is the purpose of the budget committee? What does the RSA state about the budget committee?
Right.
What are the kind of the roles and responsibilities of the members of the budget committee? And then how does this group do things? And then, of course, that's good for this group, and whenever people leave, they can change it, but at least there's nobody's reinventing the wheel as time goes on.
And you know what? I think that requires a lawyer type person.
Yeah. No, we should get one of those.
I'd be happy to help.
So, Connell, you're up for
Sure.
orientation? Amanda, you're up
Yep.
for it?
Roles and responsibilities. Yes, at least putting a framework for everybody to review.
Jen has a.
One moment, on that note, whatever, we don't need to pigeonhole
Right.
into your committee, so whatever you want to be called, it'll be an ongoing committee, the
Yeah.
annual assignment, so you find your good name. Yes, Jennifer?
Awesome.
I know I'm not official yet, but I will certainly be able to help
On orientation?
on the orientation,
Wonderful.
putting the folder together, whether it's electronic or hard copy.
Both, hopefully. Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing that I remember from February is the drive, the Google Drive, and we talked about the Google Drive and how that didn't, there was a lot of opportunity there for the drive. I had hoped to, open the drive and look and take screenshots to see what it looks like, so I could present that to us for tonight, but that didn't happen. I was not prepared. I'm not prepared to do that, but I don't know what the best way about that is, because as things were put in the drive and as they were labeled, and it was, new year, new beginnings for a lot of the administration. So, not blaming anybody, but we just need to have a process that works for us so that we can find things in the drive. So, I don't know where we want to go with that. And Jamie, I was gonna ask you, do you have, and Joe's here too, but, for the school board, like, how do you guys get information? And do you guys have a drive? And how does that look, so that we can, does it make sense to kind of mirror that, or?
Okay, so I'm gonna pop myself back up here, okay. So that's been a little bit of a bone of contention for me for a long time, even when I worked there. How information sharing has been handled. And again, right, finding no fault. It's just, either quote unquote how it's always been, or it's how the superintendent in the past has wanted it to be, right? So, and I don't know that the new superintendent has been asked, right? So I think that's a good conversation perhaps for the school board members to have with the administration about how information is, or more specifically, isn't being made readily available to the masses. Because pretty much every single thing that we discuss as a school board is public information. And so I don't honestly know why, and I've asked it a bunch of times, why that's kept in a drive that's not readily accessible by everybody. And maybe it is, and I just don't know that it is. Okay, so that's it. It's organized in our drive by the date of the board meeting. So
Okay.
we have different folders, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have different folders by the date of the meeting, and or it's embedded in the agenda with a link.
Yeah, usually Misty puts a link in our agenda to go look at the documents that we're gonna be discussing that night. And the link is good. I've gone back as far as like 3 or 4 months ago and can still access that, but if I look at something that was over a year old, I can't access it anymore. Like for example, right now I'm on the policy committee. I can't get to the drive that has all the policies on it, so I'm like, okay, well, I keep asking Misty.
I don't think, for me, the issue wasn't the drive.
Yeah,
It was that there was no rhyme or reason-
Organization.
there was no rhyme or reason to the documents.
yeah, you can't see the hierarchy, so you don't know how they're all laid out.
Yeah, but no, even more basic than that is that the old documents that had no longer had meaning are removed.
Hmm.
Or stored in another folder that said obsolete documents, or old documents. So you
Right.
you had to go through the whole thing and like pick different, because they're all
Pick the
like
one that you
8
think.
or something to try to figure it out.
Yeah, a lot of them will tell you they're modified, when the last time they were touched by anybody. So it's like, that's usually what I'm looking for, is to make sure that Misty's touched this thing.
Is this still
But,
orientation?
And my other thing is that the printed reports
This is the drive.
didn't say draft, doesn't tell you
So-
what version it is, and
Yeah.
nothing.
Sure.
So I don't know if I'm looking at a final version, a draft version,
Yeah, the policies are supposed to be broken up into, okay, we've done the first reading.
Right,
Yeah,
second reading, second.
So anyway, I'm just gonna bring us back around because I'm taking notes, okay? So I've got the calendar as an action item and that's with me and Michael.
Yeah,
And then I
Jamie?
have, the Budget Committee 101 process and procedure. Right? Because we kind of
Yep.
got sideways here for a minute, with Amanda, Chris, and Jennifer. Yep. And then with that, then after that, I think where you guys are maybe, and then Chris
How
brought
about
up,
communication?
yeah, Chris brought up a very good point about communication streams and general guidelines and expectations, right? Because the administration has some that they want us to follow as well for requesting information.
So Jamie, can I ask at this time, is there a subgroup that can meet to discuss expectations of communication? So we can keep moving on? There is a lot that we can discuss about last
I
year
would
and
leave it in,
process.
I would leave it in the hands of the guidebook to.
If we included under that, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if this was a different.
Yeah, I mean, that should be said, we should nail down how, in my opinion, all questions should go to the chair and the vice chair. And it's up to them to pass it up to the administration.
So that's number 2 then. I'm numbering our action items. 1 is calendar update. 2 is budget committee. I named it Budget Committee 101 process and procedure. I don't know if you like
Yeah.
that. Okay, and then you want to put the general guidelines, communication streams, etc. under there, like
Right.
SA.
And then the last big thing that I remember talking about in February, and this is probably the biggest thing, is coming together and understanding what documents did we want to request from the administration, and what documents did the administration think that we should have requested so that we could get all of the information that we needed. And that kind of goes into this whole, like, looking at the year-to-date numbers. We talked about looking at the year-to-date numbers monthly and reviewing the budget, and during this meeting, reviewing the numbers, looking at the variances, asking questions about the variances, and then through that discussion, coming up with our messaging and our questions that we want Jamie to deliver to the board as the representative on both committees to say, hey, you know what? We think that as the budget committee, the school board needs to know this, and this. And then formally giving that to Jamie to then deliver at the school board meeting so that there's that clear communication, clear direct communication to, between the two of us. And then that can also, I mean, I'm not telling the school board what to do, but they could also deliver messaging back to us through Jamie as well.
Okay, I wrote that down as number 3, informational documents that we need to form decisions. And I listed me as the liaison for that. Between the two groups. So
I
that
can-
one ties into our setup, the shared drive.
Yep.
Yes,
But I think, yes, I think you're right, and I think it's a little bit different because I think that all of us need to communicate to some degree, like what did we find was, you know, what documents are we looking for? And then Gabe, I think, you were gonna say something and I cut you off, so I'm sorry, but, what documents are we looking for? And then, like 2 or 3 or 4 of us, whatever, can kind of put that formal list together and we can present that to the administration to say, this is what we think we need. And when we think we need it, what do you think? You know, I mean, we can use their experience in other administrations, like what have you given other budget committees in the past? Is there something that we're not asking for that could help answer some of the questions that we have? And then part of that communication, tracking that we had kind of talked about too was if we have all of that, those questions funneling to one spot, then we can have a running an Excel document, for lack of a better word, or term, of, hey, these are the ROIs that we have, the requests of information that we have asked for. This is the date we requested it. Did we get the answer? What are our other questions so that we're not cross-contaminating and asking the same question, you know, because there's been multiple times where, Lori has said, I think I already answered that question. And so
I think we're crossing 2 different subjects.
okay,
I think one is just a list of what documents that we want to have, right?
Yep.
One's a document request, and then the output of those documents are gonna be questions,
right,
right? And then those questions should be fed back to the chair and vice chair to be forwarded to the administration. However we do it, whether we do it through Jamie or through whatever channel that is.
And these
make a-
people,
Yeah, Jamie.
yes, Jamie?
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna make a suggestion in listening to what you're saying. I think that's all good and we can do all of it. I think that with the questions, as we bring so I'm on a committee that's called Tri-State that does a big conference for 3 states. We have 3 subcommittees to do the conference. We have a shared drive where we house all of those documents that everybody can access. And so my thought when you were talking through all of that, everybody, was that we could do a shared drive with a Google Sheet that we put each of the questions in and then put the date that it was requested. So that way, even Gabe wouldn't even have to like retype it into an email. Gabe could say, the committee's questions are in the shared Google Drive on this document. We put the date that the request was made, and then they put the date that the information was given, right, when they send it, or they place it in our shared drive.
perfect.
You know what I mean? And that way, everybody has access to one shared central document. Gabe's not retyping, waiting for emails, the whole 9 yards, right? Gabe's just sending, or you're sending, either one of you are sending an email saying, there's a request for information in the shared drive as of today, whatever that date is. We'd appreciate if you take a look at it, and then if they're going to have a delay on getting back to us, they can put it right in that document and say, we can have a column that says expectation of receipt, right? What's the date that we expect to receive that? And then if they can't meet that, they could put right in the document, I can't meet that, and then tell us when you can.
Right.
So
Goes to
one
that
other,
one
yeah,
source.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Jamie, go ahead.
That's all right. The other suggestion was, what if we came to the next meeting with all the documents that we personally felt were helpful for us, and then compiled them at that meeting?
Okay.
That's great. I think that's a great suggestion. So that's everybody's homework, is to come to the next meeting with the documents that you want to help us build a budget.
Or questions on documents you didn't get.
Should that be emailed ahead of time, or we'll
Either way,
discuss it at our next meeting?
yeah, I don't think it's, if you want to email it, then absolutely. If you want to come in and bring your, we all have our, 18-inch binders of stuff. If you want to do that and flag them out, whatever, either way.
Or do we set up a drive this month that we could all put our questions into? I guess I'm not picturing how it would work. Connell?
Oh, no, I really think that's a good idea that Jamie brought up, because it's a lot more efficient. Whoever, if it's at the budget committee's drive and I have a question and then I have to go up the chain into this chain to that chain. It's cumbersome and I don't think it's as transparent, but I do think that this shared drive, it gets into our budget question spot. Anybody can type in it. It's our drive, it's our budget question drive, and it goes right to the administration. They have it, they have our questions, and it can be done any day, whenever anybody has the time or is thinking about something, and they can put a question in. So I like that approach. It's really efficient. The question is if they're gonna check the drive, they're gonna check. So that's my only concern.
Maybe we set the expectation, right? That we say, we ask them to check it once a week on Thursday at noon. And so if you on the budget committee miss that date, then you're waiting for the next,
This one option I see is that you could email me to spur the administration to check it or remind it, and it's not a bad idea for me to stay in communication with Dr. Spence. So to let them know that there are questions in the drive.
Right.
Michael?
Just two comments with you. I think you kind of answered one, but number one, the drive has to be organized properly with a folder that has all the questions in it. But the other thing is, they are telling us when they put stuff on the drive for us to look at. So it's only right that we tell them, hey, go to the drive and look at what we have for you.
Yep, and that's as simple as me emailing the superintendent and the CFO or whoever is applicable that the questions are in the drive, so we can make that work. Anything further on that, Jamie?
No, I think, and it's a learning process, right? It won't be perfect right off, but as we continue to do it, the only thing I need to follow up with probably just with probably IT to see if they may want to have control of that drive, just to have hosting control of it, right? To keep the information on the SAU60 server instead of my server, right? So So it's just a matter of working through that with IT so that we can make it accessible to all the folks and then give their appropriate permissions and have it set up in a manner that makes sense.
Okay, who can be in charge of moving this forward?
IT director right there.
Yeah,
Me?
so, yeah,
I'm not sure what we're trying to,
Just
What we're trying to
basically
put
have a
together.
folder under the SAU60 drive for the budget committee.
We have, right, I think but it's the Google Drive, it's
Yeah,
our
yeah.
drive, we have that drive.
Oh, so,
but
It's
do we
just
have
a-
permission to post into it?
Right,
Oh.
I don't know,
I,
That's
well,
the-
I could
we haven't
try.
tried.
right,
So what I'm seeing is this is committee work to figure out, and it's
Yeah.
gonna have to work with probably Lynn Phillips and superintendent. So this is work that needs to be done.
So I'll do that, Gabe, because I've got to meet with them, and I've got to meet with the superintendent anyway. I've already got a meeting set up with him and Lori and Alyssa.
Okay, thank you for taking that on, and you
Yeah,
can
so-
develop it as it needs to be. That sounds
I'll,
good.
I'll compile the document package, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so Steve will work with you, Jamie?
Yeah, that's,
I don't wanna
That's
deal with, I don't wanna deal with the district and the IT side of this thing at all. Yeah, just runs, chills up my spine to deal with the district. But I have no problem collecting the documents and putting together the documents, go in the document folder.
I don't know.
Okay, Jamie, what's this committee, so we can
I
refer
think
to it
that's
as?
just action item number 3, informational documents that we need to form decisions. And then that's gonna filter down into like A, utilizing the shared drive for members' suggested inclusions, right? Which kind of, I thought I had Amanda, Chris, and Jennifer doing, but I had you guys doing the budget committee 101 thing, right? Yeah, over there. Okay. So that would then have this little document that would include questions for information. I think that's all together. It's all one
together.
action item. Don't you think it goes together? Informational documents and questions that we need to form decisions?
You're
Yeah.
getting nods around the room, Jamie, so I think you're in agreement that that all falls under one umbrella.
Right, and then
Okay.
the only thing that we ask for the entire committee is to let us know what documents that you want to make the decisions on the budget. What information?
With the caveat that anybody can have anything else they want, but what are the top priorities?
Yeah, I mean, like, we're gonna wanna see the, what is it, October 1st, we have to have the enrollment numbers.
Right,
That's one document I would say we're gonna get from
Yeah.
the school district. Right, you know, and then there's documents, I wanna see actuals through the course of the year.
yes,
It'd be nice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes,
so, I mean, that's another document that we wanna get from them, and then we want, I think, first, you always wanna see what's the capital. So I think we need to get that as a document from them. And just go through all the different, but I think they're standard documents for the budget process anyway.
Yeah.
It's just that this year was pretty terrible to get them,
right, and then just have our list,
and have the list and say, these are the documents we're expecting.
this is what I want, right,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, that's, should be straightforward.
So are we still gonna bring our documents we want to the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sure, and then we can
Good show and
compile,
tell is always good.
I'll compile a list of what I think, you know, from my books,
Yes,
and then we'll call that the starting point, and then add and subtract.
right,
I just want to, if I could just extrapolate for a second, I know I tend to do that when there's too much oxygen in the room. The thing is that I think we've been together for 2 years, some of us. And we really need to put an organization together because the shit's coming. He's thankfully back for now, but things are gonna change and we need to have something for the next group. A process in place, you know, and I'm hoping over the next couple of months through the summer that we get that while we get the new budget starts coming in and seeing actuals, but that would be really the goal for me at this point.
That should be part of the 101
Yeah,
thing.
I think all of this is that, Chris. I think all of these pieces are that.
Yes, and that's what I'm hopeful for with this we're putting together tonight, that we're formulating something for the next group. Because we didn't, I know we were good for the last 2 years, but wasn't a lot written down. We were just trying to get numbers and do what we could. I think we need a forming process.
Something to relate it to building something with a proper foundation.
Yeah.
And ideals, so I think that committee could really pull it together.
Yeah, but I mean, I encourage everybody to go back and look at the SWOT, look at all of our notes from that meeting and come back with anything else that you guys, can see. But I don't wanna, those are 3 big things and I don't wanna I don't want to subcommittee us to death. So, I think that if we start with those are my big things that I kind of thought. If you guys have anything else that you want to talk about or add to right now, then yeah, let's talk about it. But other than that, I think that, this is where we start.
I think
Okay.
hit on a lot of the threats.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the, am I sharing it again? I don't remember.
You've been sharing.
So I think we've hit on some of the weaknesses with those are 3 big bullets that the tight time deadlines, that's the calendaring. The ability to clarify requests to admin, that's putting all of our stuff, like handing it to them to say, this is what it looks like. And if there's something you want that we don't have a piece of paper on, then I will get information from other districts for you to look at. Yeah, I mean, I think, so really, if we went through the weaknesses and opportunities, or even the weaknesses and threats, and see if that most of those fall into these 3 items, which I'll try to get this done right away after we're finished tonight and get it back out to you, at least in draft form. And then if we want to add to it, we always can on the next meeting.
Okay, I just take a moment, I forgot to check in with Jennifer on our last discussion. Any thoughts to this point in the conversation? You've been included in a couple things.
Well, getting together something that can introduce someone, get them up to speed or onboarding or whatever term is used nowadays, quickly is really gonna be important, because I remember what we went through 2 years ago. I wasn't here last year, so I didn't see all the fun guys had then, but I think it's critical and it's really doable. And I also, in terms of the documentation, I remember asking again and again and again for the same documents, not getting any response, or always an excuse for why it's delayed. And so all the same things that I saw on that list, the SWOT list, so then we don't have time to respond or review or analyze. And I know Steve Barone was very active in doing that to try to, kind of not get into the weeds, but kind of get through the interminable Excel spreadsheets and try to make sense of every which way they were put together. What I'm concerned about is for us asking them what they think we need, the budget, the school board, and being inundated with, okay, here's 1,000 documents, we'll just dump it into your file and good luck. So there needs to be some sort of prioritization for that, because it was really overwhelming, and that's when we did end up with the 18-inch binders.
Even last year.
So, if it takes us to the very last minute to even understand, it's hard to put it into a form that the community will understand, the parents, the school board and so on, and get our communication across. And it's frustrating, and that's, I think, when emotions become high.
Okay,
So that's all. I
Good.
think that's all good, what
Thank
we're
you,
talking about.
Jamie, are you all set to move on, or do we have anything more to discuss? Good,
We're good.
good, Amanda? Moving on to item number 4, review in real-time year-to-date versus actual numbers. This would be a good time to see what information we want to request. So at this time in our meeting, what are we,
It's just one report.
Yeah.
It's actuals against budget.
Been asking for that for over a year.
Well, and what did she, Jamie, what, you just sent it out, or no, who sent it out? Somebody sent it out this afternoon.
I sent out what we had been presented at the April 8th meeting, just so that you could have an idea of the numbers consolidated of what was reported to us, because I think the budget committee should be getting that information as well. And so I have requested the Excel document that would have the 2,000-3,000 lines of, actual budget of where we're at compared to all of that. I have not received the Excel spreadsheet. I went back through and looked to see if I had gotten it. And apologies, because I was sick a week and then I was out a week for family. So, and now they're on break. Our breaks didn't line up this year. So I have that in an email going back out to Superintendent Spence. Because I had asked for that as a board member, not even as a budget committee member. Okay, I want that as a board member, and I asked for it at a meeting. And so I fully expect to have that for our next meeting. And so it will have more information even than this one would have, because we're going to be another month into the year. You know what I mean? We'll have another month down, so it'll be pretty true to where it should be pretty true to where it's going to end. Because usually in the past, historically, we have shut down any subsidiary spending for Fall Mountain right around break time. So, which means all purchase orders should have been encumbered for the total fiscal year by now. So once I will ask for that as of 4:30, and then as soon as I get that, I will send it out to you so you can, in an Excel spreadsheet format. I'm going to do my own, as a board member, I'm going to do my own, analysis of it, but then all of the rest of you could do analysis, and then we could probably discuss, where the anomalies seem to pop up, and then formulate some of our questions maybe.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question to everybody here?
First, we'll go to Jennifer.
Oh, okay.
Do you have something pertaining to James?
Yes, as I recall, when we were looking at the actual versus budget numbers and variances, we found a lot of zero variances and found that they're allowed to do this. Money was moved from one line item to another and zeroed out. So so that the variance showed zero, there was more money than budget in some other places, and it got really, really confusing. Is there a way to preserve the year-to-date actual versus budget?
Jamie, you nodding?
Yeah.
And then, look at the movement or the end of year, what they're reporting as they move things around.
Yes. Yeah, Jennifer, that's a report that it shows budget transfers. It's a fiscal projection report that will show budget transfers.
So
Yep.
that's readily available.
Yeah,
Yep. Do they preserve the original budget versus variance?
Normally,
So
and I can't answer this for Fall Mountain because I haven't been there in so long, but normally within the system, within the software system that we're using, when you first import your budget, it comes in as a budget that's called, and everybody calls it different, but yes, it's the ratified budget as first installed. And then after that, it becomes a different document that has budget transfers, but you can always usually get the original document. and then it will show what budget transfers have been made.
All set, Jennifer?
Yes, thank you.
Great,
So
Joe?
I'll request it that way. The only thing I don't know is if I can request that in an Excel format. So I'll get it however I can so that we can look at that. But I'm going to request the year-to-date expenditures as an Excel format.
Okay, thank you.
Joe?
Does anybody here think that, these numbers could change slightly due to the fact that the Leaf School is now closing on Friday? And those 100 kids or so, a lot of them might end up here in this high school. And I don't know what that would cost to add these
change
kids
them.
here. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you know, I mean, it could be like where you're saying the budget is almost wrapped up now for the year. That adding 100 kids into the school might change something.
But 100 kids in a high school of, what are we at, 550, 560?
Be a blessing.
Well, yeah, but you know, I mean, does that cost any money? Do they have to hire another teacher? Does anybody have to do overtime? Does it cost more to feed all of these
It all
people?
should be transferred to the state.
Well,
It
in
should cost
theory,
all
they
amount
should,
of nickel.
but yeah,
It's at least, the Leaf School is a,
as a
state
charter school,
state funded school.
right, then they don't have enough money to finish the year.
Well, that's, again,
Right,
it's-
so
I know,
I,
I know it's not necessarily Fall Mountain's fault.
Yeah, one moment, Jamie.
But the superintendent is actively going after teachers, because we don't have enough. And we've got still unfilled positions that we're talking about filling for next year.
That's what I would be.
And they're also, where are these kids gonna graduate from? You know?
Okay, Joe, that's outside this discussion,
Well, I was just curious,
but we can bring it up at the end, but it's not on this agenda.
I understand that. I
It's
just
a
wanted to
pertinent,
make sure everybody knows that that's what's happening, right?
thank you for the information.
it may
Jamie?
change Joe, it may change it, but that's okay, because we can just get, we can get an updated one again after that, because we're not, as a budget committee, we're not mostly worried about the surplus. Like as the board members, we're worried about the surplus, right? But as the budget committee, right, as the budget committee, we're more looking at those numbers to see where the anomalies might lie.
Pono?
Yeah, Jamie, speaking of surplus, what did they say to you? What were the numbers? What do we have thus far?
It's on the email that I sent you, Chris. I think it's sitting at about 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah, but check out the email because it has other info in it, okay?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I was just curious that I'm reading the same number that was in your brain, 1.2, and it looks like we got about 11.7 is still encumbered. Hasn't been spent, but still encumbered.
Yeah, and Lori, if you have a chance, Lori really, I think, did a very nice overview of what had occurred in the prior fiscal year that did not work out appropriately with some of the grant expenditures that they expected. So if you have a chance to go back and look at that board meeting, you might want to just in that section of where she presented that information.
All set, Pono? Keep going.
No, I was gonna say it's good. Yeah, I was gonna say there's just two things that jumped out at me. We're almost 200% over in capital improvement expenses this year and 204% over in occupational therapy services.
Correct, and those were both mentioned at the meeting. And the over 200 in the building costs is because the folks who were managing the ESSER funds that were supposed to pay for those building costs to the tune of $260,000 did not do it properly.
Heard that was coming down the pipe.
Yep, so read the email and then watch the school board meeting, because I think it will answer most of your questions.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Okay. That clears up item number 4. Any further discussion? Okay, moving on, request for information.
I think we kind of did that one with our SWOT analysis and with the one on number 4, where we're going to ask for the year-to-date expense in Excel format and also showing budget transfers. But if there's any other ones, that's what I have on the list so far.
Okay, thank you for taking the list. Connell?
I would just like to know what the committee is looking for, whether it's zero-based budgeting this year, what is our approach? Or what is everybody's opinion on that subject, or what's the goal or direction?
I feel at this time that may be a bigger discussion than we want to rush on. What's the will of the committee? We have time. We can open
I
it.
think it's premature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's gonna drive me is if we run another $1.2 million surplus this year, I think we have some really hard thinking about, right? Because it was kind of a battle, this past year to reduce the budget based on the prior year, a big surplus. We have another big surplus, the second year in a row. I think we gotta have some real conversation about that.
Okay. I just wanted to get that's the vibe I'm looking for.
Yeah.
See where everybody.
And what's causing the big surplus is more important.
Well, let's, Jamie, if you'd like to add it to the record, it was a good question from Connor. You want to get your wording right for the record?
Yeah, I'll go back and watch the tape to get the right wording. But yeah, what's the opinion of the process for budgeting, basically?
Okay, Jennifer?
I can't imagine watching the tape again after you go home tonight. I've always been a proponent, and I'm used to being forced to do zero-based budgeting, but I remember a huge pushback on this group trying to do that, because it's, so easy to say, oh, now it's inflation and now it's COVID, and oh, we've just gotta take our previous amount and add to it. And, it takes much more discipline to build it up from scratch and eliminate all that school movement and everything, the money movement. I don't expect people to be, on every single line item, but we should, as a budget committee, have, I wanna say line item veto power, but also, be able to look at something and say, this doesn't make sense. It's never spent. It's always in there, or it's been underspent the last 3 years.
Certain
take it
items
out.
need to be clearer, and we found that there are things hidden that we didn't know were in there. I ferreted a few out, small dollar things. Who knew there's an $8,000 rock climbing wall put into the budget? Nobody knew, but it was there. So I think these things need to be transparent so that we all can understand what's going into our schools.
Well, I remember getting the list from each teacher, I think in Walpole or something, and what they wanted. And it was just kind of on an index card or a piece of paper, handwritten, 10 books and 6 books, and, that's not useful either. So how do we balance?
And the process has changed
Yes.
in the last year
Good.
too. So things
Lori
have,
is
things have, the standardization is coming, and it's still working on it. Lori had a rough start. She had a lot of things that she had to kind of
Yeah, I don't think I've
master
met her.
and do all of that, but yeah, so that process has changed a little bit.
Good.
But Jamie, one thing, not necessarily an information request, but I kind of want to put it out there. We want to make sure that we ask Missy to reach out to Mr. Henry and make sure that he's getting the emails. So add that to the,
You don't need any fire stones. That's good. Communication,
yeah.
due diligence.
Got it.
Got it. I will reach out to Misty and Jerry. Okay, anything else under request for information?
I don't know if it goes under request for information, but I found something about filling vacancies.
Sure, I'm sure.
Do we
Yes.
have vacancies?
The ousted is big, so we,
Right,
I did contact Misty the other day. She's on vacation. So we weren't able to establish a time for you to go down, but there is a process you would be.
well, there was a document that I got from Leroy.
Yeah.
Role and authority of the budget committee. In there, it talks about vacancies. And it says vacancies on cooperative school district budget committees, that's us, right? Are filled by the chairperson of the cooperative school board. RSA 195:12A, Roman numeral 1. Well, I'm gonna say that again, it's
Yes,
another
please.
RSA 195:12-A, comma, Roman numeral 1. And RSA 671:33. And then there's a court case.
So that means that Alyssa would seat the vacancies?
That's
Yes.
what it sounds like here.
Okay, so
You
we could
probably
ask
need to go
Miss,
back to the RSA's.
why don't we
just to
ask Misty to put that on the next school board meeting?
Okay,
So maybe Gabe, when you're sending the email to her, could you, I'll put that down, but could you add that, ask her to add that to the school board meetings next, our next meeting is next Monday. If it's not on there, I'll ask to add it at the meeting if if you think that's okay, Joe. That way we could seat Jennifer right away.
Yes, I'll be out of state on Monday, but I can
Yeah, that's
Zoom
okay.
in something or,
Yeah.
you know, come to the
Email,
next one.
email
but-
or tell the boss.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Jamie, I copy that.
Yeah,
Listen knows who I am too, so.
I don't think we have to go to the school board.
Pardon me,
I don't think it goes to
No,
the school.
I
board.
didn't know this was
It just
news
says,
to me too.
said that the chair of the school board has to seat the.
but then doesn't she have to take,
I have to do an
You
oath
have to take
or
the oath?
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's,
Just
but
be sworn in.
I'm just saying, I'm not sure it even has to go to the school board.
I think we should for transparency. Just
I would agree with that, I would agree with that, Jamie, absolutely.
have a discussionary item, not that it requires a vote, but that somebody has come forward and is willing to serve.
Vacancy on house day, right, I agree.
right, and pursuant to cite the RSA,
Right,
this
Correct.
is our authority, this is what
Right.
we have to do, blah, 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 so, you know,
Yeah.
here it is.
Yeah.
Do we all have to take the oath again? Or we
No,
vote when we
only
get-
those who ran.
And when we get elected? Is that if you run, then you take the oath? You
Yeah.
only take the oath, okay.
Yeah, so if you weren't elected
I
in
was
the
yelled
past,
at.
town meeting,
Misty yelled at me,
For what?
because I didn't I did the oath like an hour before the meeting. I was holding out right to the last.
Okay,
all right,
so
sorry.
we're all duly sworn, except for Jennifer, who doesn't, okay,
Right,
okay.
she'd be sworn once she.
so she's, all right, got it.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to come before this meeting? Good, Jamie, you're all set?
I think it's great.
Very good.
Good to see you all again.
Yes.
Being 7:49, we'll declare ourselves adjourned. Thank you all for your time.